Hey guys, welcome. I'm Jenna and you're watching Jenna X. I have with me today a very special guest. Her name is January Walker and she is the Utah candidate for US Congress. And I'm so honored to have you here. Hi, January.
Hey, Jenna, thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be here, actually. So it goes both ways.
Well, I think it's so cool that you are using NFTs to run with your campaign, and we are going to totally get into all of that. But that just blew my mind. I saw that and I'm like, yes, she is totally shaking things up. She's a disruptor. I love her already.
Well, thank you. I love that as well. And I'm definitely a disruptor and an innovator. Um, very much so. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, January, can you tell us a little bit about your education and your background in politics? How did you get here?
So my education is actually in business, economics, and finance, and I attained my bachelor's degree in it. But in the private sector, I build multi-million dollar solutions to multi-million dollar problems. And when we look at how I got here, it's been a very long journey. The first time that I really recognized that I wanted a different tier of politician was back in 2014, and uh, I just wanted somebody that listened, that talked, that conversated with me, that wasn't inaccessible, and that as they solicited our feedback, was able to like aggregate and correlate that information. So it's been a great journey. And in terms of politics, I do business politics, and this is my first time dipping my toes into public politics.
Awesome. Can you explain a little bit about the Forward Party and what that means? And when did you get involved with the Forward Party? When did that become a thing?
Yes, I first became involved in the Ford Party. I hope I'm not giving up too many good details here, but they reached out to me um, back at the beginning of the year. So this would have been around March or April, and so we have had a few touch point conversations, making sure that we definitely knew each other, who we were. As far as like for me as a candidate, I wouldn't want to be associated with anybody that was questionable, right? My integrity is very important to me, and the same bodes for them as well. They're very stringent on their their parameters that they look for in individuals that they endorse. And the Ford Party is a party led by Andrew Yang. He was a presidential candidate back in 2016, and then he was a mayor candidate in New York in 2020. And he has just he never truly was, in my opinion, he never truly was a Democrat. He never truly was a Republican either, and he just kept saying the word forward so much. We just need to move forward and forward and forward,
Yeah.
that he created the Forward Party and said, you know, we're taking back the middle, and the middle is a very large place. It's like 60% of the population, so he's doing good.
100%. And I love it because slogans like not left, not right,
Forward.
forward.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Forward.
I think that whenever people are too far right or too far left, it causes so much toxicity that we just don't need. And I don't even really want to get into the Roe versus Wade thing, but I think we're going backwards and we need to go forward.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So there, I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and what gives me the most hope about that, since we touched on the topic of Roe v. Wade, is it's time to have some very serious conversations about our future and what we want in our future and what kind of nation we want to be. And I don't think that we will get anywhere as long as we allow partisans to manipulate us through hot topics that don't have a solution. So in order to solution out of this, and this is something that I will be pushing forward on, is to go back to establishing a baseline. What, like, and this comes from finding the lowest common denominator. So as a country, we need to say, okay, what can 95% of us agree on? Oh, in terms of risk to the mother, risk to the child, uh, you know, rape, incest, great. That's your baseline across the nation.
mhm.
And then you don't leave people exposed to some of these more concerning inflammatory policies that I don't think anybody, even the people creating them, I don't think that they even thought that this would ever be a real possibility. And then you can progress the conversations to add layers. So in the future, for Americans, if there is ever a point where these conversations digress to the state that they have now, it won't wipe out everything. You'll have this foundation that is unshakable in terms of rights, and then you can go through and tweak those conversations appropriately from there.
I love that. I love that. But where do you think we are right now with Roe versus Wade? Like, where is abortion totally illegal now, or are there ways around it? Is it going to the state? How's that working?
Yeah, so what they did is they turned back control over to the states. So each individual state has their laws and parameters around this. I know that there are websites in which you can go look it up. States like Utah has, we had a trigger law on the books that was implemented by Governor Herbert, where except in those instances that I pointed out, it is inaccessible. And I think that there's some concern, even from conservative women that I've talked with, that, hey, what does this mean in terms of my healthcare in the future? And we should really address those issues. But there are some places that are significantly more lenient, some that are less. But that's where we're at right now. So
All right.
it's
I
an
know.
exciting conversation.
I know it's a great conversation. But okay, so if elected, what are some other changes that you want to make? What are you going after?
What am I going after? Well, we have kind of a list of top 3 items that we're focusing on, but really it kind of boils down to 2 items. And that is that we are going to aggressively address inflation. I haven't met a single politician in the entire United States that has solutions to the inflation that we're seeing now, or that knows how to fight it. And the other thing that we're going to be really focused on, in the western half of the United States, we're going through a very severe drought where in 5 years, who knows if we'll have water. And I think that that's a very concerning thought when you question, like, will we have water in 5 years?
Wow.
So that's going to be another item that I'm very aggressive on. And all of this is enabled through technology. So I hope that at some point during this conversation, we'll be able to talk about these technology solutions that can impact the United States as a whole in other ways. But those are going to be my top items.
Well, actually, I do want to know, what are your solutions to that, and how does blockchain tie into it? So let's hit it.
Perfect. So when we look at inflation, we know that it's driven typically by 2 forces. And a lot of individuals that are listening, they're going to say, well, Congress doesn't control inflation, the Fed does. But Congress makes a significant impact on this number by how much they approve in terms of budget, how much money are they putting into the economy, my personal opinion. And with this, we can essentially, one, get government spending under control by tying it to the blockchain. And then you can actually see where all the money is going in real time. And there are going to be people that say, well, you should just use a database. But a database is what we have today, and it doesn't work. Like last year, we lost over 600 billion
With a
worth
B.
of taxpayer dollars because we didn't have the correct technology and the correct systems in place. So the first step is to implement that. Then the second half of this is, we know that our supply chain also has a significant impact, and we're seeing a lot of stressors on the supply chain throughout the world, whether this has to do with the global pandemic, whether it's to do with war, or just people getting sick in general, people no longer working. There's so many economic forces happening here that and this isn't pie in the sky technology. This is things that real large scale companies are implementing today. Companies like MasterCard, Emerson, IBM are some of the few that come to mind immediately, but implementing solutions around supply chain so that if something does go wrong, they can see it immediately and get it pointed to the right direction and find another supply to complete off that supply chain, so that the pain point never reaches the constituent or the consumer. And so by being tech savvy from a government level and being able to lean into guidance, or even establishing like a government scorecard, that will be significantly helpful when it comes to fighting inflation. And this is going to sound silly, but I just want these solutions implemented. If this means working with the people that are currently elected, I'm fine with that. I'd be happy to work with them today if they would lean in and reach out, because we have to start getting aggressive about this. But I don't believe that we will see any solutions coming from the current elected officials. And so that's why I'm very passionate about getting into office in 4 months.
Are you getting a lot of pushback right now?
From
From yeah, like from others who are in office currently and just like who have been in politics for a while? Are they telling you, no, you're crazy, this isn't going to work?
I think that they're still getting to know me as an individual and as a candidate. From those that have met me, I think that the first impression is here's a candidate. She's a no-name candidate with a no-name party, right? The United Utah Party is the party that I'm running under because the Forward Party wasn't established at the time. And the United Utah Party, I would say, is very closely aligned to Forward. So we'll see how these relationships work out in the future. But when we so to answer your question, I'm still a very new individual to them. And I think that their initial impression is this candidate can't be serious. She's not going to make the cut. She's going to drop out. And yet here we are, a few months to election. We're just gaining steam and we're blowing past all the other candidates. So I'm not getting pushback from that level. I get a lot of people that are very interested in solutions, especially around blockchain voting, very willing to work across party aisles, but skeptical in some ways as to what will play out in terms of third parties within the United States.
What would I want to get back to the solution, your proposal for how you would help the drought on the blockchain, but I want to ask you before we hit that, because you just mentioned blockchain voting, what does that look like? What blockchain is it built on? How does one do that from their wallet? Is that done with a certain token? Can you explain what that would look like?
Sure. So Utah, I think this is really exciting to mention, by the way. Utah was the first state in the nation to implement blockchain voting for the 2020 presidential election. So we have used this in real time, and we found that it was wildly successful. So it was a huge success, and I'm very proud of us for that. In terms of how this experience would look and how the blockchains would look, I would, for those individuals that they're kind of new to the technology space and this next phase of the internet, I would think of blockchain as a product, right? So what product would you use, or what app would you use to do this new immutable voting mechanism? And from my perspective, it would be up to the free market to decide this. So my role as a legislature is to go in, put in the framework of trust, put in the parameters, make sure that every single state across the nation would be playing from the same field, and that all of the applications would have that as a minimum, and then they could build features and functionality from there. And your experience that you would go through is this: you would open up your phone, you would have an internet connection. You could also do this from your computer if you prefer, but you would have this connection, and then you would open up an identity wallet. And so with this identity wallet, these are identity wallets of the future. They're more secure than your Apple wallets are. And they make it so that nobody can access your information and nobody can hack into them. And with these identity wallets, you'll have like your driver's license or your voter registration. It could be anywhere from your university credentials to your healthcare information. Like these are all things in the future that you will have. And from this wallet, you'll be able to use your the essence of your being. So your person will be the login feature and functionality for this. So you go to your application, you log in, and then from there, you'll have your ballot pull up. You'll be able to see who your candidates are. You'll be able to read about them, click into their websites, see whatever information that you have there, and then cast your ballot. And you can do this from anywhere in the world because this is going to be on a secure connection. So you can, like, say you're a military member, you'd be able to vote from Europe if you're deployed to Europe or somewhere, and not have to worry, can I vote in this election, or will my vote make it through the mail back to the United States? So you don't have to worry about that anymore. And then once you cast your ballot, it writes to the ledger. So this is the area that says, okay, this is real. This is a real transaction. This came from a real individual, and we can set it up in such a way where people their identity isn't exposed, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't need to know that that person cast a ballot. We just know that this had to be a real person. They had a voter registration card and who they voted for.
Right.
And then once you have that, you'll be able to see the tallies in real time. And this is going to be great functionality. And it's going to save us a ton of money. Our last elections, we spent, I think, nearly $15 billion on it, and which is crazy to me. And we can drop that down significantly to like 100 million, maybe $200 million with these functions.
Wow. And you know what? This, like, nobody can argue then that there was like a miscount, anything like that. Like, that solves so much. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. It expands voter access and it prevents any concerns or conversations. Because if somebody needed to go back and audit it, they could just say, oh, okay, this is auditable. We see where all the transactions came from. We're good.
Yeah. But you don't think, though, like, they should have to KYC and show their ID like you normally would whenever you go to vote?
That KYC experience would be way further upstream. We can talk a little bit about these identity wallets a little bit more if you'd like.
Sure, maybe just a little, if you don't mind going into it. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, these are great questions too. So you have today these digital identity wallets that are kind of coming up, but past digital identity wallets are these decentralized identity. And what that looks like, and keep in mind, this isn't something that we have to push for. It's already outlined to be $100 billion industry by the year of 2024. So we are going to see these wallets, but you'll have, say you have your driver's license, right? So you will have the opportunity to go through and KYC for your driver's license when you go in person. So that there's still going to be that experience, but instead of taking that and putting it into a physical ID card, they take all that information and they put it into kind of a string of numbers. So your information is completely protected. Nobody can see it. You control it. And then they drop it into your wallet. And so that experience of saying, or of going through and logging into your identity wallet and it taking your essence, right? So this is beyond the IDs that we have. It's even more secure. It's tied to your physical being. There's no question of, did a spouse fill out this ballot? So you actually have your information there that's presented. And then when you log in, it essentially does that KYC for you. KYC is know your customer, just checking to make sure identity is a real identity. And then from there, that's you casting your ballot. You will have access to your registration in which you can cast your ballot with.
Sure. Thank you for explaining that in more detail for someone like myself who did not know much about that. Thank you. All right. So a question from JTXRP. What was the turnout in terms of numbers for 2020 blockchain voting? Are you sure about that one?
That one I have not been privy to in terms of numbers. I'd be very interested in finding that one out myself. The moment that I get my hands on those, I will certainly share that with the group. And hello, JT, it's good to see you.
Yeah, he's awesome. He has a great show. Is it a new blockchain on its own or building on an existing one?
Right. So this could work in multiple methods. So with the free market, and as with any product, a government would have the option to build this, or to hire a company that does it as well, like find a product that works. In terms of the 2020 election, we went out and we found a product. This was called Voatz, VOATZ. And I imagine that most governments would use a third-party product or a different chain that they don't own. That's my anticipation here.
Okay. So I'm hearing like one of the ISO 20022s whenever you say that, because I think of XRPL or XLM or even Cardano, something that's low in gas fees, like that's been around, established. There's smart contracts available, all those things. So that's just what I'm hearing in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's why the some of those communities were so passionate when I started talking about these solutions, because in their mind they were probably hearing the same things.
Yes, like, we can't confirm any of that, of course, but we know what we think could happen. I want to get back to how can you create a solution for drought on the blockchain?
Yeah, so when we look at the drought and what is driving the drought, much of this is our consumption in the West. We are incredibly wasteful. The other day I received a message from our city, and this went out to everybody in the city, not just January. January's very low water usage personally. But they said that we had to drastically start reducing our water consumption. I think it was by 60% or some wild number, just because our reservoirs are drying up so quickly and we need to take more active measures to resolve this. But when we look at the water crisis that's going through the Western United States, it's driven by not knowing where the water is going, not knowing who is tapping into the water. We had so many groups, and this is across states. This isn't saying like specific cities or counties, but we had so many groups tap in to our water resources that they just built off of it like crazy. And now we're going back and it's like, okay, who's using the most water? Where is the water going? What happens if a pipe breaks? How do we address that quickly? And by bringing in technology, so my proposal is IoT, or Internet of Things. It's, you can just have little devices like water metering devices that you take and you put on each of these. We'll call them water tappings. I don't know the official term for them, but on each of these water tappings, and then from there, you tie those transactions from the IoTs to the blockchain. And what this solves, the problem that it solves here, and there are environmentally friendly blockchains. I think that that's important to point out. There's many that use less energy than even our computers do today. But when we look at these transactions, you would be able to see it across state lines. And so it would enable cross-state collaboration. And then, of course, if there was anything that went wrong, we would know immediately in ways that we don't have access to today.
I've read that farming is a big one, and that like basically the pipes and everything, the whole system's like it gets old, it gets rusted, and so many leaky pipes. So I think that this is a great idea. I wish I could remember the article because I can't remember the project in crypto that was tied to it. And I saw it last year and I'm like, I should look into that. Now I forgot it.
Yeah.
Good reminder.
Can I share one more thing with you that I think is a really good solution for farming since you brought it up?
Yeah.
So in Afghanistan, they have a very similar climate to what we have here in Utah. And for their farming a few years back, they went and pioneered, I think they pioneered this technology, but it's called hydroflume tech. And what it does is it allows you to be more energy efficient with your water. And it's not the cure all. It's not going to save 96% of our water or anything like that, but it does do 12%. And every drop counts, especially when we're in times like these.
Wow, that's great. Are there any other, okay, I just want to know what other issues that you think blockchain can solve. What else? Like, what else can we get into?
What else could we get into? Oh, there's so many good ones. I actually just sent off a bunch of the previous tweets that we've done around blockchain tech. So I've mentioned that we can get government spending under control, but not just get it under control. I actually think that we can eliminate the national debt just by being able to see exactly where our money is going. We can restore trust in elections. We can expand that voter access. We can reduce healthcare operational costs. So this is going to be a big one because I think all of us on some level are impacted by healthcare, and by giving you control over your personal information, it solves a privacy issue. That feels really weird to say it that way, but a privacy issue. And the other half of that is that it cuts down a $72 billion industry. And
Wow.
and that's just from the EHR standpoint of your providers no longer holding on to your records. So that's one of the ways. It also can help in terms of Medicare and Veterans Affairs by eliminating fraud. So in Medicare, $68 billion goes into fraud just right off the bat. And they put so much effort and operational costs in it that we could just cut that out with that identity solution that I was talking about. Same thing for Veteran Affairs. If we tie this to essentially distribution protocols, you can have it to where your payments get paid in an immediate manner, and you're not having to wait a very long time, and you can quickly verify if somebody has received their payments within these arenas. We talked about water usage and data privacy. So those are some of them right off the bat. But if I was going to name one of them, we talked briefly about driver's licenses, right? Mm-hmm. So I looked into this a few weeks ago, and I found that each driver's license costs about $250 to create, and with there being 228 million drivers within the United States, that's about $570 million that we're just spending every year on, or every few years, on creating these driver's licenses. But if we issued these driver's licenses via this technology mechanism, or this protocol, this blockchain, we would be able to drop those costs down to about 10 cents a license, or $22 million a year. And then you wouldn't have to worry about losing those pesky licenses anymore.
Wow. Wow. That is a great solution. We do have a question I want to put up here. What is her view of the future of finance at the consumer level?
Yeah, when we look at finance, I'm assuming that we're talking about, this could be creditors. This could also be how we process money getting through the system, like mortgage applications, mortgage payments. And I hope that I'm understanding that correctly. Is that your understanding as
That's
well,
my
Jenna?
understanding as well, is where he's going. Yes, with that.
Yeah. So with these solutions that I've proposed, and just having the identity solution, you would be able to go through those with magnificent speed. Like with the click of a button, you would know exactly what you had. It was provable. They would have access to the information, and then you would also be able to revoke access to this information, which I think is something important that you don't currently have today in terms of functionality. But I think that we'll see this expedited in all formats, whether it's car loans, home loans, business applications. That industry is going to be revolutionized by this technology.
How did you learn so much about blockchain technology, and how do you recommend others coming into the space? Where do you think they should go to start learning?
How did I learn
Yeah,
about it?
like how did you learn so much about all of this? Because there's so much with blockchain, like literally you cannot stop learning.
Yeah, there's things that I learn on a daily basis, even from these spaces that we go into. I was looking into ways to disrupt myself. So I create products that solve problems, right?
Okay.
And I never want to be lagging behind the pack in terms of what is the next problem that's coming out, because that's not good for my employers. That's not good for the work that I'm trying to accomplish, making sure that I'm always putting our resources towards the best use. And when I was looking in, so I did, digital identity, which is like document verification, or KYC. And I was wondering what is going to be the next phase, and why do we keep having this problem with these data consortium companies? And when I started looking into it, came across self-sovereign identity, or just blockchain decentralized identity, and realized, okay, anything that touches these points, you can essentially replace with this technology, with these identity wallets that are coming out. And so recognizing all the different places where identity was used throughout not just the company, but the United States as a whole, it completely revolutionizes the concept. And that was where the blockchain voting piece came in, because I thought this is the missing piece that we didn't have previously. So that's where I learned it. Most of it's just being obsessed with creating products and trying to find new innovative solutions. That's what they pay me to do. It sounds phenomenal. To me, it's just like normal everyday life. But if you wanted to really learn about it, I would go on to W3C. That if you want to understand like the technical details, that would be a place to go. You could also, there's also companies out there that you can just look up. I would just type into Google self-sovereign identity company and read the papers and the information. They have some really good, basic, easy to understand material.
Awesome. Well, cool. All right. So before we get into a much heavier topic, I want to go talk about your NFTs and like, how did you get this idea to get started? Obviously, probably just because you love blockchain and you're like, hey, I'm going to fund my campaign this way, and you're going to see exactly where all my money is going.
Yes, I that was it. That was it. You summarized it. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No. So
I love it.
it was so much more than that. We've been running up against a few complexities in this campaign. First of all, I personally don't believe that money should be in politics, and this has been incredibly difficult for me to overcome. Just accepting that I need people to donate in order to buy the marketing materials to get out to the district. And it can't just be small donations. The donations have to be astronomical. The last congressional campaign in Utah, each candidate had like $5 million, right? I don't just have $5 million in my bank account. Maybe you do, but I do
I
not.
don't, but I saw Mark Cuban follows the Freedom Party. Does he follow you yet? Because I think I know a guy.
Mark Cuban should, yeah, I'd be fascinated if Mark Cuban followed me. I think I might be starstruck a little bit, just like I've been starstruck with all of the people that have been reaching out along the way.
I mean, he loves NFTs.
Oh, does he? He should
Yeah.
have one of my NFT. If any of you know Mark Cuban, get him to get one of my NFTs.
We need to make this our goal. Listen, we need to get him one of these NFTs. That would be amazing.
Exactly. I want to share my screen really quick,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Share screen. So let's see here. So while we talk about these, so these are the NFTs that we came up with, and really what I was trying to accomplish here was a couple of things. First, I wanted to fundraise, right? I think that part is very clear to all of us, to not just fundraise, but to give people something in return that they wouldn't have otherwise had in terms of fundraising. And I wanted them to I wanted them to come away with some kind of value. So this could be from having yard signs to pins to we're trying to put together a music concert where a bunch of people can come together and just set aside politics and all the icky things that come with it and just have fun and build that community aspect, all the way up to giving my greatest supporters or those that really leaned in the opportunity to come out, visit me, and actually attend the election party that we're going to put on November 8th. So this was just a couple of things right here. But beyond that, I also wanted to introduce everyday people to these NFTs and the blockchain and what the technology is, because this is going to replace many of the utilities that we have today in our everyday lives. Like we're going to change up how we start to interact with contracts in the business sector, right? And we can go into that a little bit later. I don't think I explained that quite clearly, but really to show people that they had nothing to be afraid of with these, and that they would be able to take them and use them in the metaverse or something like that in the future. And then the other thing that I really wanted to be able to deliver on, which we still have some items that we need to go through on this, but the ability to show that I am people funded, and to get that dark money and lobbyist money and corporate money out of politics, and show what it means to truly be a people funded candidate, and give a path for moving away from these aged institutions that really interfere with politicians' abilities to support the people at the end of the day. And then we're going to have this both in US dollars and ADA. The US dollar solution is just requiring a little bit more development than initially anticipated. So they're working on that, but you'll be able to switch between whether you do crypto or US dollars.
How was did you use Mint City, I believe it was, to as your platform?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm assuming that you would like to know how that relationship came about.
Yeah, I would. And like the ease of use of the platform and everything.
So with these NFTs, I put this out quite some time ago. I think it was back at the beginning of June. This is June 2022. And we went through a handful of companies, like a few companies, trying to get somebody that had the expertise, the time, and also the ability to pull this project over the finish line, which was quite difficult considering that we have to meet these government requirements down here where you actually have to pull information from the individuals, which is kind of different from a lot of times what you do with other NFTs. But so with that, finding somebody that could deliver on that. And then we also had Tyler Spaces that designed these NFTs, and he did a phenomenal job. Every single one of these is super, super clean. But we started with him. He got us the designs. We didn't quite have the development that we thought we did. So we got linked in with Mint City, and really these are produced on the Cardano blockchain, but they're a gift not just to the Web3 community and coalition that we've been building to try and get a voice for technology and government, but it's also a gift to the American people as well, to say, hey, here is a path out of this dark age of politics that we've been in, and there are opportunities to have higher tier politicians that we have today, and there are ways that they can be funded by us, and we can show them their support, and we can build up this future that I think that we also desperately need.
And I've not seen any other politician do this. Like, I think you're the first one, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I am the first politician that is minting specific campaign NFTs, right? These aren't, because other people suggested we do like an animal or something like that for our NFTs, but it just didn't fully align and fit. And Tyler with Spaces, he did an excellent job advocating for these, even though initially when we showed them, some people that really aren't familiar with the space, they kind of laughed at them a little bit. But then I thought about it and I was like, we're doing something new here, something that other people haven't seen before. And so we just stuck to our guns. We tried to explain the value that comes out of each of these. And really it's important. And we tried to capture it here within this website, but we tried to capture how important it is that the community actually steps up and makes its voice heard in Washington, because there are other countries like China that, in my opinion, has made their innovation and growth too restrictive. And I think it's a cautionary tale what their approach is. And I certainly don't want to see that within the United States. And we're seeing that people on a daily basis are falling prey to the paranoia and misinformation from this space. You hear it in how people talk about crypto, or they just say, that's and I think this is going to be, maybe a topic we can talk about, but they say, oh, that's just dark money that's used for abusing people. And that's really not what it is anymore. And it's time for us to step up. And this is a way that we can step up in our own way, and kind of take on this next challenge that we're experiencing in government.
Do you have a tutorial made for people how to buy these?
So we are working through that, definitely. That takes people through, and you can see it down here, where to go to download a wallet, how to create a wallet. There's a link there, and then it refreshes. So we refresh, and then once you have that, you have the ability to go through and complete the transaction. So we'll have that up and going, hopefully by tomorrow, if not by tomorrow, soon. And I want to give one more shout out to Mint City. This project is incredibly complex. And I came to the table with very difficult requirements. And I came also to the table with a near impossible timeline of when these requirements needed to be done by, because we just found out that the debate commission, instead of doing their polling in September, like we were anticipating, we thought we had an entire month to do our fundraising, to get things going, and to hit the districts. We found out that they were doing it in August. So they start either the 15th, I think it goes the 15th through the 22nd. So this is where we always complain about our representation. We always complain about not having a voice, or not liking things, or things will never be different. But this is a time to make it different. And this is where we prove whether or not we can band together and rally, or whether we just let things be the same as they have been for the last however many decades. So I'm
Right.
inviting everybody to show up over this weekend, this next week, to lean in and to do something amazing and incredible with me, so that when in like a week or so, that's the goal, is like a week or so, do a reporting and show that, hey, we've raised $1 million, or we've raised $2 million. We banded together and we said, you cannot take advantage of us anymore. We are here, and we are part of your constituency base. So that's I think what I really want to have from this, and we will shock the world when we do that. People will not know what to do in politics when this happens, and that's what I want for you.
I wish I had a candidate like you here in my state. I'm not going to say which state I live in, but I wish I wish I could vote for you so hard, but I can support you, which I absolutely love. And you know that so many people are going to be copying you. Like next election, everybody's going to have an NFT, right? Or they're going to be trying to.
Yeah, well, so I think that there's a couple of cool things about this. So if we show up and if we get loud and we come, because money speaks in politics. Like I said, this has been so hard for me to comprehend and to recognize, and it's been sickening. It's been a very it's been a full process for me over the last couple of years. Because right out of the gate, I said I'm never going to accept a donation. Here I am accepting donations. So this has been very, very, very difficult. But if this is or when this is successful,
Yes.
when, like I said, we will stun people, that they will say, okay, wait, there's a community here. They have money, their money speaks, they show up, they actively participate in political process. And that will give you that voice that not just like everyday people are missing, but within this technology community specifically, because I hear it all the time in these spaces. You can't trust politicians. They just want us for our money. We can't do anything with them. And we really have to address that. And the only way to address it is to get people on board. And so, yes, I think in the future, when this is successful, that other people will follow suit, and which is good, because that gets that dark money out of politics. That makes it so they're truly people centric.
Exactly. I want to take a question that we had from JTXRP, if you don't mind. Have you thought about NFTs for direct line communication? People can buy TBT. I don't know what that means. TBT NFT and have a direct line to you. People buy it and send it to your wallet with a memo of their opinion on something. Then you send it back to them once read.
Yeah. So I couple of things. One, my inbox is already overflowing. I'm one of those people that likes to get through all the information that is sent to me, and I'm starting to recognize that I just don't have enough time in a day to do so. So yes, the answer is yes. Not quite in terms of money. I think that people should just be able to send me their opinions. Although I do appreciate the donation aspect of it. I would just assume that would be like a donation. But even more than that, I want to take it to the next level, where every individual, one, that's within my district, and has a voice in the because at the end of the day, like they are the people that are helping me get elected, right? These are the individuals that we represent for this area. So I want them to be able to give their input. I also want to have the ability for this community to also be able to give their input, especially if you guys are helping fund and propel this campaign forward. But as we come up with policies or concerns, or like you said, comments, to have those comments go into this system. And we've looked at a few options where you can add that nuance to the conversation. You can kind of come to a open, popular consensus as to, yes, we agree with this, or no, we don't. And to use that to inform the decisions that I make on the Hill. I think that we should honestly have this implemented for the entire United States as a whole, to give representatives direct feedback into the policies of the people, and making sure that they always have a good pulse on the people. But the only caution that I have around this, and this thought has come up a few times, when we look at disinformation, and the media and the role that they've played over the last few years, because it's been all over the place. My only concern is that those voices would deploy manipulative tactics in the way that they currently do today and do more harm than good. So that's my only cautionary approach to it, is saying we need to be exercising good judgment and bringing transparency along with us.
Beautiful. All right, January. I want to take this to a tweet that I saw that you made. On July 21st, you tweeted, "Blockchain technology will expose human trafficking." Can you explain how blockchain can help us do that?
Man, you're going for the deep topics here.
Yeah, I mean, it stuck out to me, and I was like, I want to dive in.
So I'm very passionate about not harming the most innocent among us. I think that it is not a good practice. It's unbecoming as a species, as a nation. We really shouldn't be seeing any of that. And we know that within this arena there are a lot of bad actors, and we know that those bad actors have money, and they're trading money and everything like that. So from a standpoint of, and we'll take this into the sex industry first. And I was talking with an individual that they've already been creating solutions around this, where their workers can use NFTs as utility to make sure that people are not accessing their content that are under the age of 18, first of all.
Okay, so like on a website?
Yeah, so you'd be able to go on a, and keep in mind, I didn't look into all the technical details. I haven't accessed their website. This is just from a description. And looking at this, so today my understanding is if you go to a website, it's supposed to ask you for an age verification.
Fair.
Okay. And I know in Utah, they're very, very aware of this age verification. They declared pornography a public health crisis. And the problem with just clicking a button and saying, hey, I am, above the age of 18, right, is you don't have a way to verify that. You're just trusting that it is. But if you have your identity wallet, and keep in mind, you still retain your personal privacy, but you have the ability to actually verify without sending name or anything else, hey, I am above the age of 18. And that is that missing step. So first it gains them access. And these individuals that I chatted with, they didn't want children to have access to their content in the first place. And then by having content on these NFTs, if there was children, right, that had content, they most likely would not be minting them to NFTs, right? There's some, it just doesn't make sense that they would ever put that child content on these items here. And if they were to go through and do that, that would be quite alarming. And I would be very surprised with the industry. And there, I have so many thoughts running through my mind right now, and I'm trying to keep this as appropriate as possible, but I just don't see this happening. So instead, you have individuals that would be outside of the realm of these NFTs, and then that would significantly lessen the scope of people, of who are these people, where are we finding them, how are they getting this trafficking. You have like the IP addresses in the dark web, and you'll have this network that is no longer, I guess, within this new phase of technology and the internet going through, and it makes it so that it's easier for them to find. It makes it so that we don't have these child images, or we'll just say even human trafficked images up on these websites, because these websites will want to have that reputation of being upstanding, right? I don't know how else to say this, but that is the goal there. And so, and there's so much I can't say here just because it really isn't appropriate. But there are options and opportunities for us to navigate this, and these industries are already actively working on trying to solve it. But if you have government fighting against it, it's almost like fighting against a solution to get people out of human trafficking.
Right. I was actually in a room, and that's what they were talking about. Someone mentioned, and this is their personal view, is that they think crypto won't go mainstream because of this reason of being able to be exposed. And that's why a lot of people, in higher positions of power were anti Web3. But without even getting that far, it's like the blockchain tells no lies, right? So you have
Blockchain
these
tells no lies.
no lies. So you have one of these websites, and let's say something did happen, that's there forever. Like, it's happened. So that is a strike against them. And you're right. Like, I think they won't want to be, a bad actor in that space. So I like that.
Sorry, I'm just going to tweet that really quick. I really like that quote. There you have it. And I quoted you as well. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah, blockchain tells no lies.
Absolutely not. But I love where you're going with that, and what you're doing. It's hard for people to talk about, and it's something that many people don't, or they're afraid to, but you're doing it also in a way with a lot of class, and you're backing it with knowledge, with facts, with like, hey, no, this can be done, this is how we can do it, and you're bringing actually a solution to the table versus saying we have a problem and bringing nothing. So I totally respect that and love that about you.
Thank you. And taking it one step further, I love that you highlighted this. I'm all about bringing solutions to the table. I strongly avoid ever just bringing a problem and saying, I don't know what to do with this, but this is a problem and it's wrong, and here's my feelings, because that doesn't get us anywhere. That just stirs the pot, and that's what we see a lot with our politicians today. And then instead of focusing on solutions, then they base it off of feelings, and then they try and get you rallied to their corner based off of feelings. And feelings aren't facts. Like, it's really hard to parse that out and separate it. But I do truly believe that if we take an objective standpoint, that we can protect the weakest among us, and we can really start to solve these terrible problems within our society. And I really like that you brought up the child trafficking, or the human trafficking one, because I've heard in the past people say, blockchain is dark money, right? It enables bad actors, it promotes that space, when really it knocks that space down, and it prevents it from being a reality in the future. Like, it's not 100%, but it's more than we have today.
It's $1 billion industry, and I mean billions of dollars.
Human trafficking?
Yeah. But people don't talk about it.
That's terrible. That's so
I mean,
awful.
I've read that. That's just what I've read.
Yeah, but like the fact that it's even a industry period is sickening and terrible.
100%.
We can do better as a nation. We can do better as a world. I have great hope for us, and I think that that's what we're solving here. It's not coming down heavily through enforcement or anything, or just creating arbitrary rules that we cannot that don't really have a true outcome. It's creating this framework of trust that builds us into a better society.
Absolutely. How far out do you think we are from crypto becoming mainstream?
Right now we're at 4%, I think. I think that if we don't have advocates for the space, and we don't have the utility in showing everything that it can do, I think that it would take probably about a decade to hit 50%. Yeah, I do think that it's a little bit further out there. I think if you have advocates, you can kind of move that up a little bit, but people are still very afraid of everything that crypto is, everything that blockchain is, because we allowed misinformation to stew. We allowed the bad actors to run free when really we should have done better. And I think that when we create that framework of trust, I think that, meaning the framework of trust around technology, make it so it's safe, get rid of these bad actors, these bad policies. I think that or rug pulls, we'll just call them rug pulls. That's where somebody comes in and takes your money and your
Yeah.
investments. I think that once we eliminate that, that we will see a huge influx of people coming to this space. And I think that we could accelerate that.
Have you been following the Ripple case at all?
I have been following the Ripple case. JTXRP asked me about this last time, and I hadn't had a full chance to go through it. My opinion on it is this, and I would it kind of amplifies my initial thoughts last time, but they weren't solidified. And that is that we need to be very clear around what the regulation is and what the rules are before anybody starts to enforce anything. And I also don't think that it's appropriate to be coming up with regulation or enforcing anything without a voice from that group. And today we know that they don't have that, or if they do have that, it's trying to prioritize certain chains over another, which in this case, like think of it this way. They're essentially saying from a government standpoint, we like this product better because this product has paid us money in politics. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we don't want any of these products to take off. And so we as a government are going to say no to these products being created. And we'll take their money now, but in the future, we're going to come after them as well. And we're starting to see this turn where it's not just Ripple. They're looking at everybody. And I would encourage, I've had so many XRP people tweet at me, and this isn't like a plug or a shill or anything. This is just truth. This is just the truth of it. If you want a voice in Congress, if you want a voice in your government, you have to step up now. It's pretty much this week. You have to step up. You have to raise like $1 million or whatever so that we can actually advertise to people. And I hate to just say it that way, but
I mean, bottom line.
That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line. And I hate it. But the reality is I can show up for you and I can talk to you on a daily basis and I can hear your concerns, and we can tweet, we can converse, we can, talk with Jenna like every single week. Like we can do all of this stuff. But if we don't actually secure that position, then it's talk. And we've been doing exactly. Thank you. And we've just been doing talk forever. And that's all we've been doing is just talking at each other. These social media platforms are just a means to vent without accomplishing anything. And it's almost a distraction. But the reality is to win in this district at minimum, and this isn't talking about the minting costs, which we all know are expensive. This isn't talking about paying the artists or making sure that our operation costs are taken care of, or paying the people that we need to, like the accountants and everything, to make sure that our filings with the FEC are compliant so nobody is making missteps. But we need it's like $512,000 from today to the end of the election. If we had that amount tomorrow in hand, we would do so much. We could go through, we could advertise directly to the district. We could get the messages out, because like I am more than just blockchain, right? I care deeply about taking care of the people in addition to technology.
I think it only takes a couple whales to hear you and agree with like your views and what you're saying and be on the same page. But I think you have a very strong voice and presence. So I don't think that that's out of reach for you.
Yeah. Well, out of reach for all of us.
Exactly.
If honestly, if this was for me, I might be running away and like living in a van or something, traveling around the world. But no, this is a people-centric endeavor. I cannot continue to be so fortunate in my own life and not and just see everything that's happening around me. It's so hard. Yeah. What else do we have here today, Jenna?
All right, so let's see here. I had a couple questions. No, these are just like kind of comments on what you were saying. We don't have to get into, but if Congress thought that Bill Hinman, Jay Clayton was corrupt for sending the lawsuit, they'd already be in prison. Well, That's the XRP army, and we love it. No, I know we're hitting an hour right now. I know you have so much more campaigning to do, and I could talk to you about metaverse stuff all night. I did see that you have a robot, I think, named February.
I do have a robot named February. I think that that's going to be the permanent name. We've had a lot of great suggestions. I was going to put it to a vote for everybody else, but when somebody said February, I kind of fell in love with it. Did you hear why it's named February?
No, I just figured like, hey, we're just going to kind of go down a calendar until you had like, 11 more robots.
I think that would be amazing if we had all the robots just follow each other until they got to me. That'd be so cool. You would essentially be like those I can see it now. The video games, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But it's because it follows me everywhere. So February follows January. It's a calendar joke.
I mean, I got that instantly. Okay, so we're gonna take another one before we hop out because I know you have other obligations tonight. So, if people commit to buying your NFTs, will you commit to sending it to an exchange with a memo about what it's used for, post the wallet address?
Yeah, absolutely. That has been a part of our plan the entire time to say, hey, here is how much of our funding goes to what, and we are very respectful of people's money. There's nothing in here that is that I would ever feel uncomfortable answering to within our plan. And then posting the wallet address, I can do that. Shoot.
And I love your transparency, by the way. Like, this has been phenomenal. You don't get that. It's quite refreshing.
You don't get transparency in politics? What are you talking about?
I know, right?
That's weird. Yeah, so let's see, XRP. So I'm kind of embarrassed by this. I don't have the full wallet, but what I will, or sorry, the full address and the way that you want it. Because I have the trust wallet and stuff, but I'm just going to give you the direct one for XRP if that's okay, Jenna.
Yeah.
And then I think, am I late to something? I hope I'm not late to anything.
You've got to get off of here because you have a thing and you only have a few minutes in between.
Perfect. Well, that's what I have for the XRP portion of the trust wallet that we have. And if we need to go back and have a secondary conversation around this, keep in mind, in my personal life, I actually don't hodl because of my employment with all, access to a bunch of information that I do in the financial sector. So it's hard enough owning stocks and I have to go through this very painful process, but it's been very exciting to be able to hold it for the campaign and go through and be like, oh, this is what we do. So very cool.
That's a total bummer. I'll hold it for you.
You'll hold it for me?
I'll hold your crypto for you. Don't worry.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I really appreciate that one.
January, seriously, thank you so much. I know you've got to go. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And I'm going to relentlessly tweet at Mark Cuban and Gary Vee and Joe Rogan and get you out there because I feel like they would love you if they heard your voice.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I appreciate everybody that is going to make this next week a success. Like, we have to make it a success for us to pull forward, and I can pull forward on, regardless. And I'm coming back for round 2. This isn't just the end of our experience here. So when we win, and then, if in the odd case that we don't win, I'll be here for you.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Thanks, Jenna. I hope you have an amazing one.
January. Bye-bye.